Okay, good evening, everybody. It is 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, and this is a meeting of the Bolton Advisory Committee. We are continuing our review of the FY26 budget. And we've made a few adjustments to the agenda tonight. It turned out at the last minute, our library trustees couldn't make it. So we'll catch them up probably next week, but we'll make good use of that time. We'll just move a couple items around in the agenda today. Okay, first up is our Conservation Commission, and I think Rebecca is here. Sorry.
Yay, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you? Rebecca, we can't hear you. No, still no. Okay. I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Excellent.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. Good evening. And typically what I like to ask is how you would like to proceed this evening. Sometimes we've done it where I sort of run through the budget, what our proposal is. Other times I've just opened it to questions from you and really just highlighted the differences in our budget regarding the items. So I'll really look for direction from you on how you want to proceed.
Okay. Well, if you could just walk us through the items very briefly. Most of us are familiar with most of them, but for newer folks or anyone who might watch this afterwards, I know we have a big following. It'd be great to run through it quickly.
Sure. So just run through the line items.
Yes.
Okay, great. So obviously wages are wages. I think that's a little self-explanatory. That's both myself being the conservation agent, and also this year it includes a request associated with our land use administrative assistant, who is shared between myself and the town planner. Her primary wages are under the town planner's budget, but I can get to that later if you would like. The next line item is the purchase of services. This is typically more of consultant fees, surveys, some of the more service related, not necessarily physical land maintenance activities on the property. Sometimes that's also like if a grant comes up, we've used that in the past as well for some planning or consulting purposes related to that. The land maintenance item is specific to the physical contracted work, but this is regular maintenance. So consisting of mowing of our fields, invasive species management, stream channel or bank work. The training is a little self-explanatory as well, I feel. It's really training that we fund so that our commission members, or we funded in the past, so that our commission members can be the most well-educated, obviously as their schedule allows. This allows training through MACC. We typically budget it for at least each of our members to have the opportunity to go to one of the annual conferences per year that they have. The vernal pool study, we use that for vernal pool assessments and related expenses such as mileage, or if there's data collection and test related information like water testing, we would do that through that line item. Advertisement, really for legal notices or things that we're publishing in the paper, or things that have a fee associated with publishing or printing and sharing that way. The supplies, more office supplies focused. We have utilized that for supplies that support equipment that we have, but really we try to isolate that to things that are needed in the office here. In-state travel mileage to and from site visits, to and from trainings, field work. This is utilizing personal vehicles. We do not currently utilize a town vehicle, but I would be happy to consider that in the future if it becomes an option. But so for now, we use the mileage or in-state travel, sorry, line item. The dues, that supports our membership for the Massachusetts Society of Municipal Conservation Professionals, the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions, and the Sudbury Assabet Concord River or SUASCO SISMA, which is the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Association, all dues associated with those various organizations. The land capital improvement line item, this is what we used last year, which is probably why you'll notice a difference, but I'm trying to stay out of the details for now. Land capital improvement, these are the larger projects that don't necessarily need a capital request, but they're not regular annual maintenance of our conservation properties or our trails. The equipment for land stewardship work, this includes repairs for our existing equipment, purchase of new equipment, fuel, those related items. And then the conservation fund, this is a fund that's limited to acquisition projects. And this is a fund that the last time we utilized it, I believe it was 2018 for the Taggart Forest Land project. So now we're just working on continuing to build that so that as these projects come up, we have that fund to utilize.
Okay,
Those are all the line items in general.
great, thank you.
Yes.
All right, anyone have questions?
I've got a few, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
On some of the items you talked about, like land maintenance and purchase services, do you have specific projects that those sort of things are going to be addressed for in the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just sorry. I'm trying to pull up that document. I apologize.
Take your time. I
had it
know
pulled
that
up.
the computers can be quirky.
I thought I had it right here, but I had a different document.
Okay.
The short answer is yes. The slightly longer answer is what I'm getting into.
Okay. No, I mean, my first gut reaction is I see land maintenance. Is that something the DPW could do?
So unfortunately, that is honestly a common question, is what other departments can assist in making up for this in both the budget and also the physical work. The DPW does assist with some of these some of our conservation properties as time allows, and they have very limited time. They have a lot of big responsibilities and projects throughout town. I feel very lucky, honestly, to have a good working relationship with our DPW because I feel other towns do not have that experience. But the short answer is yes, when items come up that we need assistance on, but to have it be part of their regular annual maintenance and budgeting, I'm not positive on the cost comparison regarding how it's contracted versus when it is done by a DPW employee. However, what I do know is if it was annually anticipated like that and all of our conservation properties or all of just the mowing was under that, I would anticipate and believe I have been informed that they would need to hire additional staff to support that, which I'm not surprised. So we also have wonderful volunteers, as you're well aware, I'm sure, who do actually assist with some of the work on our conservation properties with the invasive species management and some of the edge mowing. So not the field mowing, but the edging where the invasive species is basically encroaching on the tree line in the field areas.
Something can beat out our poison ivy? What? What type of equipment do we have?
So we actually just purchased, so getting back to just very quickly the land maintenance item, because I just pulled up the proper sheet. It's okay. I apologize for the delay. The annual mowing is where that land maintenance item comes from and where that number comes from. That is, the number comes based off of past contracted work for Butternut and Bowers fields, and that also includes some invasive suppression depending on how the growth of the field has gone. In addition to that, we do advertise it out, even though it's under really that threshold just for best management practices. But because it's on conservation land, it's close to resource areas, a lot of companies seem to shy away once they know that. But again, that's where that number comes from, is based off of estimates and the work we've done previously.
Okay.
The equipment, back to that question, for this budget for FY26, that number or the total comes from a maintenance kit and battery, fuel, and then that's for our DR brush mower, which we just were able to purchase this past year. We also have a DR walk behind mower with what's called a beaver blade, which is a steel blade essentially that will help us along the trails to get some of the brush and keep the trail width open. That larger DR brush mower is more for that edging around the fields I was talking about before and the invasive species suppression. Then it also, that line item total also includes just chainsaw maintenance items for like the chain, the bar, the fuel filters, just annual maintenance for that. So that's some of the pieces of equipment we have. We have a DR brush mower. We do have a Gravely brush mower, which is what the newer one is replacing. We have the, like I was just talking about, the walk behind mower. It's like a weed whacker, but with a steel blade, but you walk behind and push it. We do have 2 trimmers, weed trimmers, string trimmers, however you want to phrase it. We have 2 chainsaws. We have a lot of different hand tools. We have an auger. We have a trailer for that equipment.
Okay. Got a lot.
Yeah, there is quite a bit. And that's what, if individuals are curious about what that big green container is behind Town Hall, that houses most of that equipment, if not all of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca, I've got a couple of questions. Is there a specific project going on for the land capital improvement?
There for the line item or the capital request?
Right, the line item, the $9,600.
Sure. So the $9,600 is inclusive of our Beaver Solutions annual maintenance, which comes to about $1,000. That's again just solely the conservation property beaver flow devices, which are those corrugated tubes with the caging. The company that installed it does annual maintenance. They do inspections, replacement, repair. That's one portion of that. The other is this year, well, in the past we've wanted to do it as well, but one of the goals the Conservation Commission wanted to focus on was getting our conservation properties that don't have up-to-date surveys, where we have new property owners adjacent that maybe only took care of one line of the parcel. We're really looking to solidify those boundaries. So that's the other component, is conservation land surveys. In reaching out to adjacent communities, the total that I was getting from, again, talking with my counterparts in other communities who have done similar work, is about $6,800. This does not include, this is something with minimal deed research where we have that information available, which we do for the majority of our properties, if not all. And then in addition to that, there is another portion of that line item that includes, that we like internally categorized as land survey, but specific to reinstalling bounds, which would be about $1,800. But depending upon what the conservation land survey ends up being, and not all the properties need to reinstall bounds. Most of them have iron rods, pins, But for instance, some properties reference old large oak tree stumps that have since decomposed, and with different forms of experience, yes, it's easy to find, but just the longevity of that location, we want to make sure is memorialized and continued.
Okay.
Mm.
I have a question about wages. You had mentioned a little bit up front. So part of the increase, there's a step increase for you, I believe.
Yes. Yep, that is correct.
And then the rest you said was for a few hours of extra time. Could you elaborate a little bit?
Yep. So there's a couple, I'm going to back up a little bit. I actually reduced after speaking with the town administrator due to some just personal life differences that I hadn't experienced previously that are limiting some of my time, and also efficiency is the positive that's benefiting that. Is I changed my hours from 33.5 to 32 hours per week. So that's one item. The second item is, or that was requested, is the step increase, as you noted. But then for the land use administrative assistant, that portion that's contributed to the conservation budget, again, separate from planning, is I will be out on maternity leave starting in June. I anticipate being back in November. So during that time, we wanted to propose, and the commission supported that, obviously, that's why it's in the budget, to see if our land use administrative assistant would be able to maintain some level of consistency, even though obviously it won't be equivalent, but just being able to prioritize some of those projects while I'm out on leave during that time. And after discussions with her, it came to about 4 hours per week during that time. And I believe Ninotchka had totaled that. So it's going to be about 26 weeks is what we have here. It would be, while we're on that subject, I would note, and I don't believe planning has gone before you at this time, but I am very supportive of what is in the planning board's budget for our land use administrative assistant. She has been absolutely wonderful and a support to both of our departments. So I do want to make sure that that's noted as well, because I don't know that I'll physically make that meeting, but that is where that wage increase regarding the number comes from.
Yeah, that certainly makes a lot of sense to have some continuity when you're on maternity leave. What I'm not sure of, and maybe someone can help me out, is there an approval process that is required, that, you know, someone has to say that, yes, this is okay, and has that happened already?
So I would look to Ninotchka Marie to address that. However, from the Conservation Commission standpoint, it has been voted on. It was expressed to them. It was very much supported. And I thought actually a couple members were going to be present this evening, but they voted on it during a public meeting that was specifically addressing our budget. And it was actually discussed at a couple, and they were in support of it and sort of moved on to the other items that we wanted to pare down on.
Right.
But I don't know if Marie wants to jump in on if there's additional formalities that need to take place.
As the individual holding the position is already scheduled for over 20 hours per week, they're already in the benefit eligible category. And so the additional 4 hours is at the jurisdiction of advisory and actually the town meeting for funding. It may be something I would recommend that advisory accept, but then in discussion in March, as we look at paring down an override, readdress then.
Okay. Is it, Marie, do you think it's worth holding off on the vote on this? I mean, the discussion's been great, but we could hold off on the vote until March.
You know, one could say you're voting because these numbers are not reflected in the Conservation Commission's budget. The additional hours are reflected in the planning budget.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. So this is going to come up again. We have an opportunity then. I see. Okay.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? The hours to cover Rebecca are in this budget, but
Correct.
the additional hours are in
Hours,
planning. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
Great,
you, Madam
thank you.
Chair, yes.
thank you. Rebecca, I just have one more, I want to ask a little bit again about the land capital improvement. So
Yes.
it sounds like there's, a portion for beaver remediation, and then there's a portion for surveying and remarking boundaries. As you noted, it's a tight budget year.
Yeah.
Last year, there was a significant jump in the land capital improvement. And so this year, it's better than last year, but it's still significantly above what we've had in the past.
Mhm.
The beaver mitigation stuff sounds like it's important and could get out of hand if we don't do things about it. But how critical is the surveying and the marking of boundaries? Is that something that can be deferred?
I would say, and I'm hesitant to say it, but out of everything within the budget, and again, I don't mean to sort of force the issue, but we offset our budget with our awesome volunteers this year alone so far, and it's not even the end of the fiscal year. We've offset the budget by over $20,000 just with their assistance. And that change, as you noted, from capital improvements in the past was due to some much needed work on the trails we had received a grant for. And so that was contributing towards the match. We reduced it due to that, but also noted in realizing and just noting that we have these conservation properties, we have encroachment on these properties, and that's really where that concern is coming from. And the commission really already pared it down to a goal of 1 per year because we thought that much more feasible than trying to do multiple, both for the cost and time associated with it. So that's a long way of saying, out of all the items within our budget, I think our fiscal year budget, I think that's something we could consider paring down on because it's not something that's going to significantly degrade within the next year. But we've already had a lag in not doing them and prioritizing other projects. And again, because we had that maintenance done for the trail projects and realistically noted some additional maintenance items and needing to double check, is it on our property? Is it not on our property? That's where that all came from. So that's a long way of answering your question. And I apologize for not being very clear.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Rebecca, which property are you going to focus on for the survey?
So with the survey, we would like to prioritize Bowers for the first project, just because the use and really just go down the hope. Our hope would be to make this an annual item, just for transparency purposes. So going forward, we would try to knock off 1 per year or 1 every other year, however that would be. But yes, we'd start at Bowers, which is one of our more popular parcels. And it's a singular parcel versus multiple properties that make up a conservation area.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other questions for Rebecca? If not, is there a motion to approve the Conservation Commission budget for $103,710?
I move we approve the Conservation Commission budget for $103,710.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
don't think Brian is showing. Okay, and I'm an aye as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate
right.
your time.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yes. Just a brief question. We did submit a capital request. Is that discussed today or is that discussed at a later date?
We should discuss it now. We won't vote on it tonight, but we'd be interested in what your submission was.
Sure. So the submission for the capital request is very simply maintenance of the 2 earthen dams that make up the ponds and the trails essentially at Bower Springs Conservation Area. The capital request was for and based off of estimates we had received for this work, including furnishing of material, mobilization, labor to install the material, and then stabilizing the site and including erosion control. And the total amount in the capital request, I apologize, again, I will pull that up. Sorry, I believe it was 63,000, but I'm just going to pull that up. Yes, sorry about that. So the requested amount is $63,000. Again, this is related to the maintenance of those earthen dams. It really is due to the concerning structural integrity of those dams. There's continuing use of those trails. There's concern regarding if there were a failure, because this actually feeds Bowers Brook, which feeds, I believe it's Bear Hill Pond in Harvard, which is a very important water resource for their town, not only ours, regarding the upstream. We would look, obviously, as we always do, to apply to relative grants for this project. However, I did speak to at least the Mass Trails, and due to the work that is involved, and it's more the maintenance of the dams, not trail specific, it wouldn't be very competitive for at least that grant, but there are a couple others I'm looking into. And putting this off, if we put it off another year, it would really be more concerning because we're already seeing erosion along this area. We're actually seeing some holes, both from users just enjoying the outdoors and also wildlife just taking advantage of some of the weaker points. Again, these are one of our most popular properties, one of the main loops that people enjoy around the ponds. The end result, if we weren't to maintain this, it would be to close those trails due to safety hazard or a safety concern in the future if we let it continue. And this is all based from an assessment we had done of the dams. They're not Office of Dam Safety jurisdiction, which is relatively good news, but we do still have to maintain them, obviously. And in addition to that, we had notified advisory of this a couple of years ago, where we've already done the tree work already and separated that out. Due to a very generous donations, we were able to actually stabilize the beach area, or the area known as the beach, through a separate scope of work, which has been nice and absolutely wonderfully appreciated. But this is, again, for those larger dam areas and making sure that those are stable and will have more longevity than what we're anticipating now. So
Okay.
that is the capital request. Do you have any questions on that? I know you're not voting tonight on that, but.
I'll put some together for you. Are you a king or queen? King.
And anyone have questions for Rebecca?
I couldn't.
Is that capital request up on the website?
Yes.
I
Well,
couldn't see it.
up on the website where?
I look at, I don't know, Viewpoint.
Viewpoint?
Yeah.
Cloud. I
Yes,
didn't
so
see-
it was included
All right,
in
All right.
one of those attachments, I believe it said it's saved as FY26 budget request full without spreadsheet might be the title of it. And then it would be at the very bottom.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it, unfortunately.
I think I have a copy somewhere. I can email it out.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Rebecca? Okay, great. Thanks very much, Rebecca.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're a little behind, so we're just going to jump right to MIS. I think I saw Travis here, which I'm assuming is Travis McKenzie. Travis, are you here, or maybe Paul?
No,
Yeah, sorry, I'm here now. Sorry, I was just working on something while Rebecca was finishing up.
No problem. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Okay, let's see. We are going to jump right to MIS 155. Okay, Travis, you have 5 budget items. Could you just very quickly describe what those are?
Yeah, so yeah, purchase the services that includes the contract, the support contract with CM Geeks. And you know, any kind of project work that we have going on. It also includes endpoint detection, which is EDR, which is required for the cyber insurance. So it's like an agent that runs on each machine, and it protects against real-time threats. So, and then like our router renewals in there. But yeah, and then so repairs, supplies, that's just basic like network switches, display cables, like just kind of, you know, incidental things, pieces of equipment just kind of fail every once in a while, small purchases. And we have our web services, which includes the internet and certainly the email. Right now we have Google. We are going to actually migrate to Microsoft. I've been working with Marie just to make sure that you know, there are funds available for the migration cost, but in the long run, Microsoft is actually a little less expensive than Google. But anyway, other things in web services, I think actually Jen Marquis stipend is included in that. And things like the .gov domain registration and stuff. And then one of the bigger items is certainly the equipment leases. Usually we do 5-year leases with Dell. Try to keep a 5-year replacement cycle for all the systems. And that went down a little bit, the equipment in FY26, because one of the bigger leases we had is the last payment is in FY25. So we'll be done with that, paying for that lease. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone have questions for Travis?
Travis, do you see any opportunities in transitioning to open source software?
Let's see, open source software. Like, do you have an example? Because a lot of the things that we require are kind of, there's only really a few providers I see that are the main competitors.
LibreOffice?
Yeah, we've had definitely compatibility kind of issues between you know, small formatting things. When you send documents back and forth when you're collaborating, I've seen times where it's just not perfect. It's just most people I think are also just very used to the whole user interface. We buy Office bundled with the computers, so it's generally it's like a couple $100 per computer. It's and that's like a perpetual license for the length of the computer. So usually I think just kind of Microsoft does a good enough job and people kind of are just comfortable with it. You know,
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Travis? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve our MIS budget for 83,693?
I move we approve the MIS budget for 83,693.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Bob, I'm gonna have to abstain. I work at Lenovo and I'd rather not have a conflict of interest involved, so I'm gonna abstain.
okay, very good. I will be, I'm an aye as well. Excellent. All right, thank you, Travis.
All right, thank you.
That was great. Okay, we'll move on to Historical Commission. I think Bob Bush is here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ah, excellent. Hi,
Good
Bob.
evening.
Okay, Historical Commission. It's short and sweet.
Yeah, it is pretty sweet. I put a fairly detailed rationale in the submittal, but I'll kind of walk through it. Basically, on December 11th, we finally got the East End Historic District approved by the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and that's been like 3 years in process. And that's now been submitted to the Department of the Interior. And the primary expense that we would bear after this is signage when the district is approved. And I don't think it's prudent to buy signage unless and until it's approved, because there's not 100% guarantee under normal circumstances. And given the current excitement in DC, I wouldn't bet on any schedule for anything at this point. So the plan would be is we've got money in this year's budget. If we get approval to spend that money on signage, because the district's been approved, then we'll expend some of that, but we'll still need money in 26. It won't cover it completely. And if we don't get approval in the current fiscal year, then we'll obviously have to do it in the subsequent fiscal year and probably lapping over into the next fiscal year.
And Bob, that's your supplies line, the 2,500?
It's a combination of supplies and services because we have to get the plaques fabricated and installed on site. Those are the basic expenses, and everything else is nominal.
And that's just to indicate that this is a historic district?
I'm sorry?
Is that the signs will just indicate that the East End there is a historic district?
That's correct. We've had this, I don't know if you've noticed them, but there's some for the Main Street district. There's some for the Pan district. I believe this district will require 3 signs to cover the various entry points.
Yep.
And
I'm in the
that's
Pan.
really what
I've seen them.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, other questions for Bob? Not, is there a motion to approve the Historical Commission budget for 6,150?
I move we approve the Historical Commission budget for 6,150.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay,
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
It's good
Bob.
talking to you.
Thank you, Bob.
good talking to you. Okay, and now all of a sudden we're ahead of schedule. Excellent. Okay, so we are up to building inspector. I don't know if Mike is.
So right here.
Ah, there's Mike. All right. Hello,
Can you
Mike.
see-
How are you?
Good. Can you see me okay?
Yes, we can.
Sorry
Uh,
about fumbling with the screen a little earlier, but I was worried I would hit the wrong thing and I didn't want to lose you guys. So I just kind of sat out of the way because I didn't want to touch anything and mess it up. Yeah, I can go through it with you real quick.
Yes, please. So we're going to start with building inspector, which is 241.
Yep. So on the building inspector's line item, as you'll see for fiscal, we budgeted 34,000 for 24 we had budgeted for 24 we budgeted 34,000 and we actually used only 31 of that. For 25 we budgeted we got 35,000 in there, but now for the 26th, as you'll see, we're actually decreasing that number. So for the budget for myself for this year being $34,063 for wages for the inspector, myself, that's been reduced to 24,979. So that's a drastic reduction. That reduction's there because we now have Chris Rogers, who you know is now certified as a local inspector, which he's technically my assistant. And you know, obviously not my decision to make in the future, but as I get closer and closer to full retirement, Chris is coming up to speed very nicely into a commissioner's position where he's working on that position now. So that's a great benefit. So where we really haven't had a high line item in the past relative to the assistant inspector's wages, because it was used very little. Now I have reduced my actual hours personally that I work for the town, no longer on Saturdays. And Chris has taken over on a Friday morning in replacement of that. And therefore he is getting an hourly wage right now for the amount of 4 hours equivalent to the Saturdays that I have relinquished. But because I had been getting paid a little bit more, actually considerably more based on, you know, being in the town for 17 years, it's actually led to a reduction in our budget of over 11%. So yeah, we did better than level, I guess. We've actually reduced. And you'll see that we are keeping the line item. It's always been $2,080 for 17 years now, maybe. I've never increased my line item on my vehicle, and I don't know, I thought about it, but no, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. As far as training goes, we are requesting that a portion of the savings that we've had in the reduction of our budget, which would be the equivalent of $800, could go towards training for Chris and I. We have now, the state has now adopted in full force and effect is the 10th edition of the Massachusetts State Building Code. So the new code books have come out, and you can use the 10th or the 9th edition currently up until the end of June. So we are looking at replacing the books that we have, because they, even though you can go online, it's very difficult to talk to people when you have it on a tablet or a phone. If you're on a job site and you don't have your tablet, and it's so nice to reference it if you have the books in front of you. And quite frankly, I've read the books to get my certifications, and I know how to reference those books a lot quicker than flipping through the computer, as I had a little bit of difficulty this evening. So if we could just shift over some of those savings of $800 to the training, and in the supply line item, we'd like to add $100 to that so that we can get the new books that we're technically required to have.
Sure.
And that's really it. That's it. It's pretty much a salary type of position, stipend type of position, and we do have the 40B project. Just so that you are aware, there is an escrow fund associated that we're being paid separately. So I'm hoping to make back some of the money that I've been cut back. And I do anticipate, if I have done the math correctly, which I've done it several times, I really think unless they really have a problem over there, there should be some money left over in there, which we are able to keep within the coffers. And that's my goal, to do that under the building department.
Okay, and Mike, that amount in escrow that you mentioned is the 100,000 that we had allocated in FY25 to cover the inspections.
Actually, it's a different number than that. I don't know if Marie wants to weigh in on that, but apparently that it's in an escrow fund, and I don't see it in my actual budget. And I think what we were going to do there was we were billing out. We were keeping a log, obviously, of the inspections, as we do with all inspections, and anything associated with the 40B is going to be associated with those inspections through the building, electrical, and plumbing. And they are pulling separate permits for all the sprinkler work and fire work associated with it through the fire department, and they can charge accordingly for their permitting.
Yeah, that 100,000, was done, 18 months ago? I think long before we kind of knew exactly what we were thinking for fees, and almost like a placeholder. So it's obviously been stripped out now that we have the escrow funds.
Okay. So will that 100,000 in FY 25 be expended or?
No.
No.
But conversely, you know, we have $100,000 in the receipt, like on the revenue tab, so
Hmm.
it's a wash.
It's a wash, right? Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Questions? for Mike?
just for my clarification, I thought, I did see that placeholder number, but I did think, was that the number that was agreed upon, or was it a different number? Because I did my calculations of the number of inspections relative to the rate that we get, relative to.
It's a different number. I can look it up.
No, because I now I refresh my memory. I did use the 100,000 in the calculation, and then I multiplied out the number of inspections by all inspectors and then by the rate. And I believe we are going to be right around that $100,000 mark. So I don't need to know what that other number is, but that's why I know there's a different number. But I believe that there will be money left over, because my inspections with the electrical and plumbing, which are part of that escrow fund, have been calculated out based on about 100,000. So you guys can, do the math from there, I guess, with the other number.
Okay. All right. Other questions for Mike on the building inspector line? We'll hit the other lines in a minute.
Yep.
Okay. If not, is there a motion to approve the building inspector budget for $34,383?
I move we approve the building inspector budget for $34,383.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, moving on to plumbing and gas inspector. This seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, obviously, as you can see, and thank you for voting on that budget. Obviously, you can see that they're level funding the same dollar amount in the plumbing and gas line, and in the wire inspectors line is staying the same also. Again, as you know, we are being paid separately, which is enough to cover the travel distance that they have to take to get to the site, pay for their own vehicle, insurance, and all that. So bottom line is they are staying level funded, and hopefully that helps everybody.
Okay, great. Questions for Mike on either of these, the plumbing and gas inspector or the wiring inspector budget? If not, is there a motion to approve the plumbing and gas inspector budget for $20,733?
I move we approve the plumbing and gas inspector budget for $20,733.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
I'm an aye. And is there a motion to approve the wiring inspector budget for $24,011?
I move we approve the wiring inspector budget for $24,011.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye also. Okay, Mike, I
Okay.
think we're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Just real quick to anybody out there, Bob, maybe you, do I slide the screen? Do I just shut the tablet and it'll shut? Because if I play with this, I don't know if I'm gonna do it right, but do I slide the screen to get to what I originally saw, or do I just shut the tablet and I'm safe?
I think if you hit a little end.
Hit a button or something?
On my screen in the lower right, it says leave, if that helps.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I touched it and it came up. I
Yep,
see
there
it.
you go.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I lost it. I got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Okay, great, excellent. All right, and now we have a repeat appearance by Chris Rogers with some Board of Health items. And
Hey guys,
hi, Chris.
so this is going to be pretty quick. So going back to our original budget, that $1,600 that was in question last time, we are taking out. Otherwise, our budget will stay.
Okay,
we
Chris,
discussed
are
last time.
we talking, is this landfill or Board of Health?
This is Board of Health.
Board of Health, okay. All right, so sorry, continue.
So very simply, outside of removing that particular $1,600 line item, the rest of the budget, as we discussed last meeting, stands. And that's it.
Okay, so you can drop, you're saying this purchase of services for 1,600.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, boy. All right, this means,
68,804.
Thank you, dear.
I was gonna say, now I gotta do math in real time. Okay, so, 68,804. 804. All right. Any questions for Chris? If not, is there a motion to approve the Board of Health budget for 68,804?
I move we approve the Board of Health budget for 68,404.
68,804.
804.
Oh, sorry, you're right. 68,804.
And I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, and then, Chris, there was the landfill.
Yep, and landfill, I'm gonna ask respectfully if you can move me to the next meeting for that topic. The very simple backstory is that we had talked around, about a budget around $25,000. I've talked to DEP, I've talked to our board tonight, and I've got to basically reach out to the engineer because it's going over already, and I feel it's prudent for us to talk to the engineer and then even possibly take this out to be, kind of bid on, I guess, by other parties. So, so I'll talk to the engineer tomorrow, and we just need more information before we can comfortably present this.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Very good.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Okay, sounds good.
See ya.
Take care.
All right, excellent. So we're up to advisory committee business. First up, we actually have a transfer request to discuss. I don't find it.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. So this transfer request is not too surprising, but to cover some unexpected costs with ongoing litigation. So this is for legal services. The supporting documents, if you looked at this and when it was sent out earlier, just all the different invoices. Any questions?
Is this likely to keep occurring on these various suits?
For 3 of them that are listed within the documents, yes. Legal, those also the catch-all for the backstopping labor council for the negotiations that we have ongoing with our 3 unions.
And so it's safe to assume at this point that we've already expended our FY25 legal budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Is there a motion to approve this transfer request for $1,722.40?
I move we approve this transfer request for $1,722.40.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye also. And final item I had sent around our input for the annual report. This covers work we did in 2024. Anyone have comments or any corrections that need to be made to this or other items that we should add? If not, is there a motion to approve our advisory committee annual report?
I move we approve the advisory committee annual report.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye also. Okay, great. I think that's all the voting. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to discuss or mention?
I'll be having a coffee at the Bolton Bean on Friday, enticing or hopefully enticing residents to come and ask questions regarding the budget and the budget process. Would also welcome any members from advisory if you wanted to come and share the fun. It'll be great.
Okay, what time will you be there? Sorry,
That is 8:30 to 9:30 Friday morning.
8:30 to 9:30. Great. I had a quick question. There was a discussion last week about trying to get a meeting organized of the select boards of our 3-member towns. Any updates?
There's a tentative hold the date for February 6th, next Thursday. Thus far, I have confirmation that only the Stowe Select Board Chair and TA can attend on that date. And the Lancaster interim TA was looking for feedback from his board members. The amazing Jenny has already sent out a draft to her contacts in Lancaster, trying to nail it down.
Great. Okay, so tentative 6th February.
Correct.
Right, excellent. Okay, anyone have anything else? Give you a quick preview of the meeting for next week. On the docket is Town Clerk, Economic Development Committee, Planning Board and Board of Appeals, Board of Assessors, and we will try to catch up library as well. All right, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you next week.
Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care.